Hello and welcome to another edition of Comics and Pop. I am one of your hosts, Jonathan Rosen, along with Troy Cannon and Spider-Los today. We are going to talk about Spider-Man No Way Home, and fair warning, this is a spoiler-filled podcast, and I have so much to say. I know you guys have so much to say. We all saw it, and it was everything that I wanted in a movie. I laughed, I cried. I was one of those like fangirling, like every time something new happened, I was like laughing. But before we go into it, let me just initial thoughts. Troy, I'll start with you this week.
It was.
Wait, before Troy goes, real quick to our three followers. If you haven't seen the movie, you want to pause and stop watching now because we're going to spoil it for the three of you guys. And
Didn't we say at the beginning spoiler filled? Didn't that mean the same thing?
I'm being generous with the three. I really do. All right, go ahead, Troy. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's cool. I liked it. It was everything that I was hoping to get. There were very few things that I wanted that were not in the movie. I mean, I was thinking about it for a long time. I've been waiting for the movie for a long time. So I had my ideas of what was going to happen, and I wasn't disappointed. It was great. It's been a really long time since I saw a movie at a theater that I wanted to pack up, jump in the truck, and drive across town to go see again. And this one fits the bill. I want to see it again. This was a great movie.
The second we left, I was like, I got to see this again. The second the movie was over, I got to see it again. Before we get to calls, it's already, I think it's it's already the second highest grossing film ever right now.
It's got like 240 million already, right, I think.
And it's only behind, and they're trying to already rank it among where it fits as the best of all the Marvel movies. We'll talk about that in a minute. But Carlos, initial thoughts?
It was all right. I had to take this mask off. It's so freaking hot in this thing. But I would not make a good Spider-Man. That's why I'm an Iron Man fan, because like the Iron Man suit has like air conditioning and stuff, So everybody's not hot, so I would need that. But it was fantastic, man. I mean, there was nothing not to like about it. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people are going to nitpick it, for little things. But I mean, even if you nitpick it, everything about it was awesome. I mean, everything that we thought was going to be in it was in it. But even though you knew it was going to be in it, it was still great to see it. I guess we'll break it down a little bit more. But initial reaction: top 5 Marvel movies of all time. Absolutely.
I'd agree with you. I agree. It's right there for me as well. I think this is one of the best ones I've seen in a long time, Piero. And everyone, I mean, I think, we spoke about it before, the same thing with you guys. Everyone in the theater was cheering, like at every little moment.
It's insane. Those people standing up. I mean, literally, like, in the scenes when the major ones were obviously when the two Spider-Man showed up, when,
Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield.
So I like how they did it too, because I wasn't expecting that they were going to do it that way. That it was going to be Ned and MJ that were going to kind of introduce them into the movie. So I thought that was really cool. So the banter that they had between each other was really cool. But I mean, when they first introduced Garfield, I had to stand up to see it because the 3 people in front of me were like going crazy, dude. It was insane. But yeah, I mean, it was crazy.
My theater was packed. I mean, the same thing as you guys. I looked at all the other showings that day, and everything was like sold out throughout the day. I think there were only like sporadic seats in the front row or something. But yeah, I mean, like the same thing when Doc Ock came out, everyone started cheering, and then when you saw the pumpkin bomb from the Green Goblin, everyone went nuts also over there. It had so many little Easter eggs throughout too. But the same thing. What was
your favorite Easter egg? All of them. Your favorite part Easter egg?
There were so many. There were so many in there.
What was your favorite one? If you had to pick one, what was your favorite one?
I don't know. I did like the when them talking to Andrew Garfield and saying, you're amazing, because all the little things behind, first of all, he played in the Amazing Spider-Man movies. And also he's getting this rap, through the years that he was the least of the Spider-Men. And so it's like them picking him up and they're talking about their villains. But I just got to say before, we'll go to your Easter eggs, all that. When I went back and watched all the Spider-Man movies now afterwards, after I saw that one, Andrew Garfield gets a bad rap. To me, I thought he was a fantastic Peter Parker. I don't know about all the Spider-Man movies were maybe not up to par as the other movies, but I thought he really captured Peter Parker's spirit, being picked on, the nerdy, the outcast, the loner. I thought he really did a great job as that too. So I'm a big Garfield fan now as well. I don't know if that's the best. I can't rank him, but what do you about you guys? Your Easter eggs? Favorites.
I'll go real quick. I don't mean to cut off my man Troy.
I'm good.
Because he's got bicep muscle and he can take me out.
He can take us out whenever he wants.
Right, exactly. But my favorite, obviously all the Easter eggs were cool, right? Being able to see Garfield, being able to see Tobey Maguire, seeing Doc Ock and seeing, Electro and seeing the Sandman, even the Lizard. The Lizard is probably like the least of the villains that I was like whoa for, but it was even cool to see him. But my moment, the moment that I was like was when they showed Matt Murdock. When they showed Matt Murdock, man, whatever, and they threw the brick in and he stops the brick. He was like, "Man, how'd you do that?" He was like, "Oh, I'm a really good lawyer, man." I was like. I was catching the vapors, I was like, because Daredevil was like my favorite of all the TV series. I mean, we discussed this before. Of all the not for big screen shows that they've done, Daredevil's been top notch, and the fact that they're bringing him into the MCU now is, to me was my favorite Easter egg. But I mean, they were all.
I kept hoping that they're going to see a little Daredevil in this movie. I kept hoping that they'd make like a little bit of appearance. But I don't think they want to take away from Spider-Man.
Right. I was kind of glad that they didn't. But I'm glad that they introduced them and they're making them part of the MCU, just the way, the same way they introduced the Kingpin and the Hawkeye, and then bringing that whole universe into it. It was funny because just a little side note. When they were doing the after credit scenes, right? One of the after credit scenes.
We'll get to those.
Yeah, but real quick for me, we'll be talking about this whole universe, the whole Netflix universe, where they showed Tom Hardy. For a second there, I didn't recognize him, and I thought it was the Punisher. I was like, is that the Punisher? Right? But then I was like, oh no, wait a second, that's Tom Hardy. But I thought it was the Punisher, but because I love those shows so much. But yeah, I mean. Everything about it was good, man. All the bringing back the old characters. I remember when Spider-Man first came out in 2002. I think it was 2001 or 2002 or something like that.
It was 2003. Yeah.
Was it? Yeah. So yeah, I mean, the major Marvel movie before that was, I think, X-Men came out a couple of years before that, right? And then Spider-Man, but this was all pre-MCU. But to me, that first Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire was awesome. It was like one of the best Marvel movies, at that time. Even till now, it still holds time. I think as a really good movie. So seeing him come in and Garfield, I enjoyed the Garfield movies too. But the Tobey Maguire, I really enjoyed when he came in and stuff. And it was just it was a little sentimental, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was really sentimental. I actually got a little bit choked up. I mean, I didn't cry.
I got choked up more than once.
But I got choked up. The only time I got really choked up was when they killed Aunt May.
Oh, that killed me.
Yeah, when they killed, but I understood why they did it. But at the same time, it was kind of harsh because I kind of felt that maybe Tony Stark was the big loss that he was going to have in the MCU. Because Tony Stark, he kind of became like a mentor and like a father figure to him. So maybe losing him was maybe his Uncle Ben. But then, boom, they also took out Aunt May as well. So the kid's on his own. So, that was tough. That got me.
You can't have Spider-Man without a close death. And that's in the...
Right. But I mean, I thought that it was going to be Tony Stark was going to be the close death. I didn't think that they were going to kill off Aunt May as well with those. But I understood.
I love the Matt Murdock. I also love the little Miles Morales mention. In there. But Troy, your Easter egg, your favorite.
My favorite one will probably be Daredevil 2. My thought about that is, okay, Daredevil's got radar sense. So Daredevil knew the brick was coming.
Right.
But Spider-Man's got spider sense.
Yeah.
Daredevil moved faster than him. He moved so much faster than him that Daredevil, when the brick, it was almost in Spider-Man's face when he catches it. And Spider-Man hadn't even moved. And it wasn't like he didn't need to move because he didn't want to give up his secret identity. At that point, everybody knew who he was. So I'm thinking, how did Daredevil move so much faster than him? And then I'm thinking, plot armor. They just did that so people could see it's Daredevil. And he's fast too. And he's got his radar sense, man. So I'm like, okay, all right, okay, I'll let that slide.
But I think also, real quick, not to interrupt you, I think that also Daredevil was like in control of the situation. He's working. He's the lawyer, so he's there in control. He's got the whole. Where Spider-Man, he was a little off. He's scared. He's like, well, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
So maybe that had a little bit to do with it too. But I think when you saw that he reached out like that, but Spider-Man's hand was right behind it also, so he would have grabbed it also.
Okay.
So if you look, you said, and then Spider-Man, he grabbed it, and then you see Spider-Man's hand was like right there. So but Spider-Man was going nonchalant. To him, it was like nothing. It was like, right. Where Daredevil was like, what?
Just a brick.
Yeah.
And another thing I was wondering, remember we talked, and I was like, they're giving so much press to Jamie Foxx. He's going to have a bigger role in this than we're expecting, and he had like a gigantic role. For the villains, he probably had more dialogue than anybody, and he didn't look weird again. He didn't have the crazy hair.
He looked so much better this time.
The buck teeth. He looked like himself, and they just explained it. He just explained it that the energy changed him. That's his way of saying, I want to look good in this one, and I don't want to look like a dork again in this movie. So, plot armor. They did that so that they could say, let's make him look good this time. We want to sell some seats. And that was cool. A lot of good things happened. I want to talk about the two Easter eggs at the end, but I'm going to wait because I know we're going to do that.
We'll talk about the post-credit scenes in a second. I mean, I was looking through some of the things. There were all these things like the Steve Ditko thing on the graffiti they had. The what else do they have here? Oh, what other Easter eggs are they showing here? The Doctor Strange and thing going on. That Wong is now the Sorcerer Supreme. Right. The license plate, Amazing Spider-Man, license plate there showing where Doc Ock first showed up. So there are all these little things in there. I mean, there was no Harry Osborn. I was wondering if they were going to bring him back, but I knew they couldn't bring James Franco in at all. So
what I'm waiting on too? I'm waiting on people to like break it down. Remember when Doctor Strange, when he's trying to hold the universes together near the end, and you see that there's people are trying to come through, and you see some silhouettes. There's silhouettes of
They showed them. They showed some of who they were.
Did they?
They said they were talking about that one of them looked like a scorpion in there, and they said that one of them did look like a rhino in there too, because they had been talking about it before. The Andrew Garfield talking about his stupid villain, the rhino.
Right. So that's what I wanted. I wanted to see what some of the speculation was on that because I haven't seen any of that yet.
But my thing about that, my thing about that is these were supposed to be people coming through who knew who Spider-Man was already. So all these villains that they were bringing through, I mean, because Sandman didn't know who he was, unless he learned later. So I don't know why Sandman knew, and I can't remember if Electro knew or not.
Didn't Sandman see him at the end, like with a ripped mask and everything?
But even if he saw that, he wouldn't have known his name.
I think that didn't Harry start calling him Peter and stuff during their fight with the Sandman?
Did he? Maybe.
I thought so.
I gotta watch that again.
I thought so. I thought he started calling him, Peter during their fight together when Harry comes over to help him out, as the Goblin, as the new Goblin.
Now, the weird version of Venom, the Venom who shall not be named, he knew, but he didn't show up. He wasn't there. They never had a sixth guy. It was just the Sinister Five.
Right. That's what I was waiting on too. I was like, who's the sixth guy going to be? Yeah. And they never really showed a sixth guy. So that was interesting.
I think they had plans. They were reading, they had plans to have another one in there, but then it started getting too crowded and find dialogue. I don't know. We knew that ahead of time. We started talking about that there was going to be a redemption for at least one of the villains. We kind of knew that it was going to be Doc Ock. They showed, May flirting with Doc Ock, like in the comics, a little bit too. So Doc Ock really, really redeemed himself in this movie. He came out very heroic in this movie at the end. Taking care of Electro at the last minute. So that was a great. I did love seeing all of them. I mean, and I forgot how good some of these villains were. I forgot how good Willem Dafoe was as Goblin.
No, he was great. Yeah, Goblin was great. It was great. It was good to see him. Even though, obviously they're older now and they look older. Even Toby looked older. Toby Maguire looked, he looked older and stuff in the movie. But I mean, these are, if you're a Marvel fan and, you've been watching these movies, all your life, I mean, we don't really care. Like they could wheel out Robert Downey Jr. 20 years from now and an Iron Man movie that I'll be there bawling like a baby, because that's my Iron Man. So, to a lot of people, Tobey Maguire maybe still be their favorite Spider-Man, or Garfield might be their favorite Spider-Man. So seeing them in the movie, it just brought up a lot of emotions.
I got choked up like you said you guys did. I got choked up when they first came out too. I loved seeing them. There was all this thing on Twitter last night, the whole big fight, who was the best Spider-Man now, and all these Garfield fans were like saying that they're redeeming themselves now because they've been saying it for years. and when he saves, and again also when he saves MJ at the end of the movie, that also
he was great. Garfield was great.
Yeah.
And I legit, there was that brief moment when I thought, oh no, they're going to kill Maguire. And when Goblin stabs him, and I thought they're going to kill Maguire here, and I was ready to riot right then. I said, no, don't do this to me right now.
I was thinking they were going to kill Maguire because he got stabbed, and I was like, I'm immediately thinking, okay, well somebody's going to kill, Garfield because they're both going to die. That's what's going to happen. They're going to kill him off so they can write him out of the Spider-Man universe. But then, of course, he didn't die. But I was thinking, oh, yeah, they're both dead. They're both gone. But, it didn't happen.
I was ready. I think that would have really killed the movie. I really think that would have killed.
They didn't kill anybody.
They killed that man.
Right, but I'm saying. But none of the villains died. None of the heroes died. Aunt May was the only one who really died. They didn't really kill anyone.
Well, the thing with the villains, I mean, there was all their every villain got their little redemption. They all turned. They did what May wanted. That was the final thing because Aunt May wanted to save them instead of sending them back to die. So he did do that at the end. So that's what all the villains got, a little bit of redemption at the end.
Right.
And I was straight up bawling when Aunt May went, like you guys said. I was out.
Yeah, that was really bad, man. I felt bad. You feel bad for him. You feel bad for Happy, because Happy's like crazy in love with her. But what was kind of weird too? So in the end, right? Basically in the end, when you see him talking to Happy at the grave, right? Nobody knows that he's Spider-Man, right? But he was in love with, but Happy was there sad because he was in love with May. So he never met Peter Parker.
Peter Parker. I was thinking the same thing.
Was weird, right? Yes. I thought that was kind of weird. She never, so he was there grieving her, but he doesn't know who Peter Parker. He doesn't have to know that he's Spider-Man, but he can know who Peter Parker is.
But they changed it from the beginning. That's what I didn't like. They did change it from the beginning. The beginning, he wanted Strange to, like Doctor Strange, to say that people will just forget that he's Spider-Man. Right. But at the end, he said people will forget Peter Parker. I know. Right. Why couldn't they just do the wording? I mean, it's nitpicking, but yeah.
Right. But at the same time, it was kind of cool. I kind of understood because in the end, like the part when he goes into the diner and he goes to explain himself to meet Mary Jane again, and he kind of stops, right? So I think like he kind of like gets in the back of his mind, like, maybe the whole, hey, I'm a superhero, and as a superhero, villains are always going to try to hurt the people that I love, that are close to me. So maybe he kind of like didn't say anything to them to spare them, them knowing that he's still going to be Spider-Man and he doesn't want them to die in the future the way his Aunt May did.
I thought at the end they were going to show that MJ was dating Ned, the way that
it kind of looks like that, right?
Yeah.
The way he walked in, it kind of looked like they were gonna like maybe go kiss or something like that. So that would have been weird, though.
Troy, you were about to say something?
I think that's what it's going to end up being. That she's going to start dating Ned, and maybe that's why he goes, wackadoo nuts, because Peter eventually gets his girl. But he's got to go nuts, and he's got superpowers now, apparently. So
that's another Easter egg that I was like, Ned Leeds in the comics is bad. So he was the Hobgoblin, right? I mean, so they were showing that they were leading. They were throwing that little Easter egg in there too about the best friend trying to kill Spider-Man at one time, and now he's got all these little maybe magic powers or something. So I think they were foreshadowing that in the future.
Yeah, his Nana said that he was I forget what she called it, the Spanish. Well, you would know the word for witch, something with a B.
Bruja is for witch, right?
Yeah, she called him that, and he said, she thinks I'm magic since I was a kid, and I was like, he is magic. You are magic. Your Nana said so, man. Nanas know, man. But you know what? Out of all of the villains, the octopus, Doc Ock, should still be dead, because he had his revelation before he got in the water anyway. So he had already become a good guy when he went underwater and drowned to death. So he's going to go back as a good guy. He's still going to get in that water and drown to death.
Well, maybe not now. Things have been shifting. We have the whole movie.
Right, but I think the way they did it in the movie was when you asked all of them, the last thing they remember was the scenes of them when they were dying.
Right.
The last thing he remembers was he was going into the water, and now he's here. Electro, he was like, he became, he went into the network, and then boom, now he woke up and he's here. So they the last thing they remember when they were coming in was like their dying scene. So that's why Peter wanted to save them, because if they went back, they would be dead, basically.
I did like the whole conversation between Electro and Sandman about their origins, and they were both kind of thinking how lame their origin stories were.
Gotta watch where you walk.
Right. So we had the MJ. The Aunt May dying. Like I said, I do hope. I don't think we will again. I think this was like a one-off, but it did kind of make me nostalgic to see at some point, Maguire and Garfield in another Spider-Man thing. I don't know if they'll do it again. I think this was probably it.
This is probably a one-time thing, yeah.
Yeah, Garfield never got his Amazing Spider-Man 3 because of all the Sony Marvel stuff going on back then. But I definitely would love to see them again. But who knows if they'll be. Let's talk a little bit about the post-credits then. So the post-credits, we had two post-credit scenes. Carlos mentioned one of them a little bit about Tom Hardy in the Venom thing, which we saw at the end of the Venom movie. We saw the foreshadowing to this, where Venom is in this universe now, in the Marvel universe. And then, they supposedly goes back, but a little piece of Venom stays behind. And we saw the Doctor Strange trailer, kind of. So what do we make about the Venom one first?
Well, with the Venom one, here's what I'm thinking. Everybody who knows Peter Parker as Spider-Man was slowly being pulled through. I get that. Venom knew that Peter Parker was Spider-Man because all the symbiotes have a shared mind. So wouldn't not just he, who has never met Spider-Man, but every symbiote who knew, wouldn't they have all been pulled through?
Yeah.
Not all the villains were pulled through, though. Only,
No, all the symbiotes.
Well, because Tom Hardy should not be there. Based upon their storyline, he should not be there because he doesn't know Spider-Man, right. He doesn't know Peter Parker, he doesn't know any of this stuff. Although, we had the Venom in the other movie in Spider-Man 3, but he did show up there, and so they're explaining why that the symbiotes know who Spider-Man is from being in this world, and that's why he came through. But then they're sending him back, which is a shame because I do want to see Tom Hardy's Venom in this. So they're saying someone else is going to get the mantle of Venom in the MCU.
Yeah,
not necessarily.
Probably Peter Parker.
Right. So I'm thinking if you saw when he left, they sent them back, a little piece stayed. So maybe that little piece will go on, and find looking for Peter Parker, and it'll be, the next Spider-Man.
But that's not Tom Hardy. We're saying that we're not getting Tom Hardy's Venom.
Who knows how they'll do it? I mean, like I said, but the thing is, Tom Hardy's Venom is not a villain. You know what I mean? So that's where the whole thing kind of like the universes are kind of weird, because Tom Hardy's Venom is a superhero, kind of an anti-hero, whatever, right? So, and Spider-Man is a hero. So what are they going to fight? I mean, so that's kind of weird. So I'm interested to know how they're going to work that out. That would be,
They need an evil Venom now, because like you said, Tom Hardy he's an anti-hero, so they can't use him because he's kind of a good guy. So they've got to give it to their version of Tom Hardy's character. They've got to give it to their version of Eddie Brock. So who's probably going to be a Richard, not Richard. What's that? There's another name for Richard. It's smaller, starts with a B. Can't remember the name of it, but he's going to be a Richard in their universe, and he's going to be the guy. So he'll eventually get it. But I think, like in the comics where Spider-Man goes to space, he's the original one that brings it over. And then in the movie with who was it? Garfield? Or no, Tom Hardy. He gets it first, and then it goes. So I think Peter Parker is going to get it first, and then it's going to end up with his version of Eddie Brock, because he's got to find a job now.
Right.
So he's probably going to end up at the dailybugle.net. He's probably going to end up there.
I was hoping so.
Course.
Yeah.
And then he'll meet, their Eddie Brock, who was probably the guy that was feeding J. Jonah Jameson all the information. He's here. I'm watching him. He's here. He's in the building. And that's probably him.
That could
so
be.
It'll, he'll probably get it. And then in close proximity, Eddie will get it. I'm assuming. I don't know. I mean, following the books. And he'll get it. And then you'll have, lunatic, crazy Venom, or maybe J. Jonah will get it.
I did like the ending of the movie itself a little bit. We see Spider-Man done with school. We saw that little GED thing means he didn't graduate high school. We saw that GED book in his, backpack or whatever. The what?
He got his good enough degree.
Right. Yes. And now he's living on his own right. They took all the stuff, the high-powered, Tony Stark stuff away from him, and he's like starting out fresh and like meager, like in the comics. So he's going to be, learning to needing to get money.
That suit was cool. That new suit that he had at the end, that was kind of cool.
No, I like it.
About that. What happened to the high tech stuff? Where's that stuff at?
Because he's not Spider-Man anymore. Everyone forgot. Tony Stark made it for
everyone forgot, but he physically should have, because he's physically got his clothes, he's physically got his stuff. He should physically still have his suit. But people forgot.
Tony Stark never made it for him anymore then at that point.
But Tony Stark was dead by then.
Yeah, but he doesn't have the suit. I don't know. It's one of those, paradoxes things, But he is starting out fresh.
Okay. We're doing this podcast right now. Dr. Strange casts a spell and makes all of us forget about one another. We don't remember each other. Until we turn on YouTube and see that we've done a ton of videos together.
Would the videos exist?
What stops the stuff that's in the computer? Because S.H.I.E.L.D. knew who he was. Because remember, Fury ended up in his room and tranked Ned and was like, we've been waiting for you, Parker. He knows who he is. But even if he forgets, all that information is in S.H.I.E.L.D.'s computers.
I think, first of all, going back to one thing you just said, I think we're kind of like that Peter Parker MJ stuff. I think our love for each other will transcend that spell.
Right, exactly.
Group hug.
Right.
And what do we think about the Doctor Strange trailer? What do we think? Where do we think the universe is going now? They kind of made it seem, as soon as I saw that Doctor Strange trailer, immediately it took me to that What If series. Because that's kind of what they're hinting at.
That's what I was saying, that they're going to have the evil Doctor Strange from the What If, which is, that they're going to tie that in, which is kind of cool, because it ties in the What If series to, it kind of makes it the What If tied into the MCU, even though it was a cartoon. But yeah, I mean, it looks sick, man. I mean, it looks like it's going to be, amazing. I mean, with the Scarlet Witch, obviously, and all the people they're going to include in it. It looks like it's going to be a major Civil War type. Where they're going to have a lot of different heroes in there as well. So I'm definitely interested to see. Because I know it's going to be the multi. I guess they introduced the multiverse in this. So obviously the multiverse is going to have that's the name of the movie, right? Supposedly. So it's going to have a
multiverse of madness, right?
Exactly. It's going to have a big, so if you open up all the multiverses, so, how many other people are going to be involved in this movie. So that's going to be really cool.
I thought two things when I saw that trailer. First, when I sat down, when the movie, I got the tickets, I got there early. I sat down, I was sitting in my seat, prepping my food and everything. And there was nobody sitting adjacent to me while I'm making my hamburger the way I would like it. And then I look up, and then there's a guy. I think it was a guy. He had a mask. I could only see his eyes, and he had an earring. I'm assuming it was a guy.
Troy had a little grill in there.
I did. I was flipping burgers. And the guy, he looked at me and was like, "Sup?" And I was like, "Hello." And he's sitting there, and he's just kind of leaning. And then this, I guess it was a dude. This woman sits next to him, and he's leaning over, and they're sitting right there. I'm not eavesdropping, but they're sitting right there.
I'm not eavesdropping, but I'm listening to what they're saying.
I'm listening to because as hard as they try, sound doesn't stop right here. It just kept going. So I'm sitting there, and he's explaining characters in the movie to him. Now, I feel like, without bragging, it's going to sound bragging. It is bragging. I feel like I'm a guy that knows a lot about pop culture, especially comic books. And this guy is saying stuff, and I'm like a professor. I'm like, that one's correct. That one's correct. That's not right. That's not right at all. I'm not saying it to him, but I'm thinking that to myself. I'm twiddling my thumbs, and I'm like, I should say something. But it's not. I don't have anything to do with it.
You jump in and shame him in front of his lady? Did you do that?
Right? And then at the end, to what we're talking about, at the end when they're doing the trailers and Dr. Strange comes out and he points and he says, I forget the name, the demon. He called it by the wrong name, but I'm thinking that's Shemagora. He's got the wrong one. But he's thinking it's like somebody else, and he says the wrong name. I can't remember the name he said, but I'm like, I know that demon, but that's not it. That's not the one. And I'm looking at the screen because now I'm trying to pay close attention to what's happening so I can just try to stop listening to him. And it was a flash of a jacket with a star on the back. And in my mind, I'm screaming, that's America. That's her. She's here. The Young Avengers are going to happen because that's now I'm thinking about that guy and I can't put the name in my head. That's America Chavez. That's her, man. She's the time traveler chick. She can bounce, she can teleport through space and time and through dimensions. So she's clearly going to be their bus pass.
You think we're getting Young Avengers in there? You think we're going to get them in the Doctor Strange?
Well, I don't know if they're all going to be there, but she's definitely a major power. She's fast enough. I read a comic where they were all fighting. She was fighting with Spectrum, Captain Marvel Spectrum, and Spectrum is moving at light speed, and she noticed that America Chavez was moving next to her, still fighting the aliens, and she's like, "Oh, I got some help." Wait a minute, how is she moving at light speed? That chick is a lot more powerful than they perceive. So I'm wondering how powerful they're going to make her in the movie. But that's the whole thing I was looking at. I saw the evil Doctor Strange and I was like, I got it. I know where they're going. I was hoping Mephisto, but I see where they're going. But I couldn't stop thinking about that jacket with the star because I'm like, it's America Chavez.
To me, the best thing Marvel could do would be to never introduce Mephisto and let all the fans just go nuts.
And just make us keep buying tickets looking for him.
Guess who might appear?
It won't be Mephisto.
Right. So what do we want to see next? So let's start from the Marvel MCU and from Spider-Man. Let's start with Spider-Man. What do we want to see next from Spider-Man?
Craven.
Well, I guess from Spider-Man, he's basically going to start his like everything that we've seen so far for the current MCU Spider-Man is kind of like all pre him graduating high school, right? So basically now we're going to see basically like a grown-up Spider-Man. You know, he's going to have his, you know, get a job at the Daily Bugle.
They announced, I think, yesterday that Disney and Marvel, Disney and Sony are already plotting the next course. So they are going to work together. They already confirmed they're working together for the next thing.
Right, exactly. So I guess
how could they not after this weekend? I mean,
you know. Right, exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be him. I guess going to kind of start his story as you know, now he's done with high school. You know, and I guess that chapter of his life. You know, I'm wondering how they're gonna, I guess, work. You know, if they're gonna work, keep MJ in, and obviously, and they, like Troy was saying, if they're gonna make Ned the Hobgoblin, you know, because he doesn't know who he is now. They, you know. And if he does like her and he steals her, right, then maybe he'll, you know, become the villain, become the Hobgoblin. So maybe they'll go that route. I mean, but I mean, it's for me, everything. What I love about the MCU is that they're all, you know, all the movies are tied together, right? So, you know, even though it was a Spider-Man movie, you still had Doctor Strange in it and stuff. So everything is kind of tied together. So I would like to see how they're gonna. Maybe Spider-Man make him an Avenger maybe down the road, you know? I mean, who knows? I mean, he originally kind of was supposed to be an Avenger, but he never was officially an Avenger. I mean, he became an Avenger officially in space when when Iron Man said, you know, like united him, you know, said you're an Avenger now, you know, because you have no choice, right? But I mean, he was never like introduced as an Avenger, kind of. So, you know, will he ever be an Avenger? You know, is it going to be the Young Avengers? Who knows how? I mean. Well, I mean, they got me, right? They had me. Whatever they do, I'm going to be there. So, but I would like to see how they're gonna. And also, you know, Venom, like the whole Venom thing is going to be interesting because obviously a little piece of Venom stayed, and when Venom left, when he lighted out, whatever, the little piece of the symbiote stayed. So what's that little piece going to do? Is it going to be introduced? How is it going to be introduced into this universe? So we'll see.
Right. What about you? What do you want to see next from Spider-Man?
For Spider-Man, what I'm thinking, if any of the execs from Marvel are listening, pay attention. What I think is, since they introduced Daredevil into the Spider-Man universe, they could introduce Kingpin, because Kingpin was originally a Spider-Man villain,
right?
Morphed into a Daredevil villain.
So was Punisher.
And the Punisher, yeah. The Jackal hired him to kill him. So they could introduce him and say, okay, here's Kingpin, but Kingpin's got Avengers Tower, so he's got stuff that he can get his hands on. Because clearly, I mean, Happy had stuff in his freaking bedroom, so clearly he didn't get rid of everything. So Kingpin owns that tower now. So he's got Daredevil and he's got Spider-Man to deal with. With Daredevil, I'm thinking he's going to create or hire Bullseye, and that'll be his solution for Daredevil. But for Spider-Man, I think he's going to bring in Tombstone, who is big, strong, powerful, bulletproof, almost indestructible, superhuman strength. And he tossed Spider-Man a beating twice. He almost killed him once, if not for what's his name, Robinson, Joe Robinson, the guy from J. Jonah Jameson's sidekick. I forget his name, Joe Robinson. If not for him, he would have killed Spider-Man. He was beating the brakes off of him. So he can physically go with Spider-Man. So I'm thinking those two elements. So Spider-Man is going to have to deal with the superpowered agents of Kingpin, because he's probably going to get involved with that. He's also going to have to deal with Venom. And like you were saying, with Ned, if Ned loses his girl to Peter and he's getting the hocus pocus thing down, there was a magical version of Hobgoblin who was part demon. That could be where they're going with the Ned story. I'd like to see, the magic pumpkins and the bats are real supernatural things, and he's fighting Spider-Man with magic. That would be kind of cool. I'd like to see something like that. And Craven.
Yeah, but I'm with you. I'm waiting for Craven. I want to see that Craven storyline. Craven is such a cool villain in the comics, and that Craven, that famous storyline was probably one of the best in any Marvel series. So I do want to see that. I keep wondering what they're going to do with it, if they're going to use it. I do also like that, the Tom Holland Spider-Man. I love Tom Holland. I love everything in the movies, but they keep talking about how he's had to rely on others, throughout his run as Spider-Man. He's had the assistance of the Avengers. He's had the assistance of Tony Stark. He's had all the adults helping him kind of a little bit along the way. Now he doesn't have that anymore. So now he's on his own. So I do want to see how they're going to play with that. I'd like to see also, like you guys said, love to see the Kingpin and Daredevil more in this. If Daredevil's not going to be getting his own movie, then Spider-Man is the place to put him because, they're on that same level. And in the comics, at one point, Daredevil knew who Spider-Man was before Spider-Man knew who Daredevil was. So we could have that Daredevil, knowledge coming through a little bit. So maybe it's possible that he becomes a little bit of a mentor as well. So I do want to see, the same things you guys, but I definitely, Craven, I think, is the most that I want to see. And I do want to see where they go. I would love to see an introduction of a Gwen Stacy in this one too. See how that plays out, a little love triangle perhaps. And also, like, Troy just said, the Hobgoblin, too. I would love to see Ned Leeds maybe a little bit villainous along the way. Although this is such a fun character of Ned. I'd hate to see him turn bad, but I do like Hobgoblin.
Wasn't the Vulture's daughter kind of like Gwen Stacy, though, or no?
The Vulture's daughter?
What wasn't her name Gwen also?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
I thought her name was Gwen. I could be wrong.
Could be.
It's possible. I have to go back and look at it again. But what do we want to see in the MCU? Next step, what do we want to see? Troy, we'll start with you this time.
In the MCU, the next Avengers, whomever they might be, the Dark Avengers / Thunderbolts, they're clearly coming with one of those versions of an evil superhero team. And the Young Avengers, they've got like almost all, they just need Hulkling now. When the Secret Invasion happens, I think they're going to introduce Hulkling as one of the things. He's was a part Skrull and part Kree. So he's going to be, I think that's the last one. So they've got to do that. I'd like to see those three teams. I'd like to see the Galactus and the Fantastic Four. I think they should show them maybe in an Avengers movie or something like that. It's got to be a big level movie. I don't think it'll be like Ant-Man or something. They're going to have to show them in a big level movie and introduce them there before they bring out their own movie. They may just throw them on screen, but I think that they need to introduce them first.
I have expected some mention of them in this Spider-Man movie, not to show them, but maybe even just mention as a scientist, doing this or whatever, just to talk about it. Like, that he's talked about these paranormal things like, space time rifts or something, that to have it be Reed Richards or whatever, but they didn't do that either.
Well, they had the subliminal thing.
Yeah.
They had the sign at the construction site that said 1, 2, 3, ? What comes next, instead of the number 4. And when he's on the ground with MJ, his legs are crossed and it makes a 4. So I was like, I see you.
Carlos, what do you want to see next from the MCU?
From the MCU, man, I mean, there's so much stuff that's coming out. One thing that I think that I would really like to see is maybe bring Iron Man back to life. You killed Iron Man, you bastard. Look. You see these hot toys? They're about $400 a piece. I need Iron Man back. They got to figure out a way to bring
Carlos's address is.
Please bring Iron Man back. I mean, how can you kill Iron Man? What's wrong with you? Even in this movie, they had mentions of Tony Stark. Everything is about Tony Stark. He's been dead for how many movies already? And he's mentioned in every single freaking movie. Bring him back, man. Figure out something out. I don't know.
I think he's coming back.
Draw up a spell or something, and bring him back to life. Marvel zombie, even as a zombie, I don't care.
No, I don't want to see the zombie thing. I don't want to see Tony Stark zombie.
Stark.
I think he's coming back as an AI.
I do too.
I'll take that. I will take him as an AI.
Because they did that in the
Tony
comics.
Stark, man. We need Tony Stark.
Riri's mentor. He came back as an AI and was what do you call it? The virtual
Absolutely.
thing. Yeah.
Yep. But I mean, and I also want to see him start putting in the little hints and tying stuff to the Fantastic Four as well, because we know the Fantastic Four is coming, and and obviously the X-Men will be coming soon. So maybe start giving a little bit of input into that and a little ties to that, so that when they to build up to that, because that's going to be huge.
I mean, look, I not too much different from you guys. First of all, this is just my little thing. I've not read this anywhere. I think we're going to get a little Tony Stark hint in Multiverse of Madness, because a lot of things are coming. All these different timelines are coming in, and all this magic being used. I think we're going to see Wanda's kids and family. We're going to get the Vision back, and I think somehow we're going to see Tony Stark at the end, somehow, some capacity, even just like toward the end. I just have this feeling that they're saving it for that. To it, because Downey got his break from Marvel for a little bit now. He hasn't been in all these movies. I do think that's coming, but same thing. I got to see Fantastic Four in here. It's always been one of my favorite comics. I keep mentioning that through our podcasts. I got to see this. I got to see Galactus. I want to see how they do Galactus as a storyline in the Marvel. I always liked him much more than Thanos. I thought that he was such a great villain. And because he's not really a villain, even he's just doing what he does to survive. I mean, so it's not even like that. He's not like a villain. He just feels like he's superior to everybody. But I got to see that. I do want to see the X-Men too. I want to see the X-Men appear in the MCU. But if I had one thing, it's definitely the Fantastic Four and Galactus. So where do we rank this movie in all the Marvel movies?
For me, obviously, Iron Man #1 is the greatest movie of all time. Greatest comedy, greatest horror movie, greatest animated movie, greatest foreign language film. Iron Man #1 is
for you. It was a porn as well.
Exactly, it was porn. Exactly, it has been porn many times. It's been porn. But and then the next three for me would be the three Avengers movies, because they include Iron Man in it, and they would obviously were really good movies.
And then the What If that had the
for me, number five was always Civil War. Captain America Civil War was always number 5. But I think this one's right there with Civil War, man. This one's like right there. This movie was fantastic.
Troy, what do you rank this one?
I think I'd rank it number 4. 4 or 5. Like I say, Endgame, Civil War, they're going to be at the top. I like Black Panther. Black Panther is really good, but it's not standing, for me personally, it's not standing the test of time. I probably shouldn't say that out loud because it's a great movie, but I've watched it, but I could watch Endgame more than I could watch Black Panther, I think.
Oh, yeah.
But Spider-Man, yeah, number 4 or number 5, it's high up there. It's high up there.
I got to see this again, this Spider-Man again. I mean, I'm definitely going to see it again. It's just a matter of when, not if. But this ranks up there for me. This really does. I don't know, Endgame, like you guys saying, Endgame is really up there for me too. This might be my 1A. I can't even put it at 2. I just had, because Spider-Man's my guy. Spider-Man's always, I'm a huge Spider-Man fan, and this to me, it might be up there. I'm going to be watching this so many times. I had everything that I wanted as a Spider-Man fan, as a Marvel fan, was in this movie, and just getting to see the three of them, and we got to say like our goodbyes to Maguire and Garfield too, kind of in here. A thank you and our goodbyes. It just had everything for me in there. So this might be at the near, if not at the top, it's right there near the top for me. So, all you guys, everyone watching, let us know what you think. Let us know your thoughts, agree, disagree, anything that we missed, put it in the comments. And as always, thank you for watching, and please subscribe. This has been Comics and Pop. I'm Jonathan, along with Troy and Carlos. And again, thank you.